Hello everyone, so today I'm here to share with you the latest release from Harry Slatkin through his Homeworx brand, available exclusively at QVC, and that is his Chocolate Truffles collection. It is a long-awaited collection. I think we saw sneak peeks of it months and months ago, and it just released this past weekend, I believe October 20th on QVC as a trio. And I will say, I really enjoy when the couple of times when Homeworx has released trios, because I think you end up often getting a much better value than just on the duos. Generally, the trios are going to be between $49 and $55 approximately, whereas you'll usually pay between $39 and $45, almost $50 sometimes for most of the duos, certainly the hobnail glass duos. So I think you get a really nice value in here. And I also like, you know, if you're going between, if they were gonna release 4 candles and it was either, you know, set A or set B, I almost like that they just release 3 candles and you get all 3, so you don't have to make the difficult choice between, you know, one set to another. So just saying that, I enjoy that they did this as a trio, just like the TSV back in the summer for the All Through the House Harvest and Holiday collections. So I was sent these to review for you guys. I'm super excited to dig into them. I will say right off the bat, typically, if you've been watching this channel for, you know, the 6+ years I've had it, I don't usually lean towards a super sweet, you know, gourmand candy bakery side of sense. Certainly I buy them, I enjoy them when they're authentic. My go-to is oftentimes the more conceptual, complex blends. But what I will say here that is a huge sign to Harry and Homeworx quality is that when you get a scent like this, whether it's a gourmand or a candy, you know, a chocolate in this case, which many candle companies try and don't always do well with chocolate because it can come off quite artificial or kind of 1 or 2 notes. To Homeworx credit, these are really complex, intriguing blends, which does make them kind of that level above, you know, a typical candle that would release something that is, you know, a chocolate mint or an espresso truffle, etc. So that said, I've sniffed these. I've burned one of them so far. We'll dig into these, try not to keep the video super long, and we will do, if you've been watching my channel for a long time, I always enjoy doing the sniff and comparison when I compare blends to previous blends from the same companies, and so I used to do that with Bath & Body Works a lot, and I'm doing that here with Homeworx as well, because what is super interesting that is kind of fun is 2 of these scents are reminiscent of the 2 candles that were in the ice cream shop collection this past summer. Not at all repackages or duplicates, but more than anything, I want to be able to say, okay, if you purchased, you know, Fantastic Fudge and Mintalicious Chocolate Chip, let me compare and tell you the differences with Espresso Chocolate Truffle and Chocolate Mint Truffle, so that you know, oh, I'll like this better, I won't like this as much, or, you know, do I need this or don't I need this sort of thing. So that is how we'll do our comparison today. But I also will start just giving you my general thoughts on those. So first one I want to start with, the one I was kind of most intrigued with was Sparkling Pink Truffle, only because that could, you know, that's not obvious based on the name necessarily what it is, whereas the others are pretty straightforward. So let's go into the notes on this. Again, Chocolate Truffles collection, Homeworx by Harry Slatkin. The notes on this one are sparkling wine, so let's say essentially, you know, a champagne style sparkling wine, a white wine. Sugared ginger, which we've seen in other fragrances, sugared grape, sugared berries. Sugared ginger is less common, which is kind of interesting. White chocolate and raspberry liquor, or I'm assuming they mean liqueur here, like a Chambord or something like that. I will say right off the bat, I love all things raspberry. It's one of my favorite fruits and berries. If you give me raspberry flavored, I'm actually right now eating a Fayet raspberry, just as luck would have it. So I really love things raspberry, so super excited about this candle. So let me take a sniff on this. Now this has, again, this is the really beautiful sort of plaid wraparound labels with just this simple, classy font and look, you know, the actual name label on there. The wax colors in this are just like an off pink, off green, off, you know, tan. So they're not super dark, but they're just really nice comparison pairs to the color you see in the label and the wraparound here. And what a lot of folks have shown off, which I think, you know, I'll show off as well, I think is super cool. This is the lid that they use. So this is not showing up on camera exactly, but it truly is a warm milk chocolate color. It's got those scalloped edges like you're, at a bakery or a chocolate shop. The little bow here with the Homeworx monogram right there in the middle. So this really does look, to me, maybe it's a box, but to me it's almost like a very fancy chocolate that has this pattern in it. The whole thing just looks like, a big chunk of chocolate, which is kind of fun. So, sniffing Sparkling Pink Truffle. Oh man, this is really, really nice. The one thing that makes me very happy, sparkling in the name and sparkling wine in the notes, you absolutely get an effervescence to this. That's right off the bat. So sort of a sweet, your sugared, a sugary, not cloying, but again, like a sugar crystal, almost like where they say that sugared ginger. You've got the champagne or the sparkling white wine with that effervescence. The ginger, I don't know that if it was not in the notes, if I would particularly call it out, but that's okay, because I wouldn't want it to be so heavy on the ginger that it was blatantly obvious. But it may be in the background, again, kind of playing off, adding a little bit of spice almost to the white chocolate. There definitely is white chocolate in there. Now, white chocolate is hard because, it's creamy, it's not cocoa, it's not exactly vanilla, but it's just got that rich, thick, sweet, but not particularly sugary, creamy sweetness to it that you get from a white chocolate, especially if you're thinking of a truffle candy. Now, I think most people know what truffles are, but essentially it's usually going to be a ganache filling, which is going to be, think of melting down chocolate chips, adding heavy cream, and then getting that really glossy ganache that never fully hardens. It gets thick, and they flavor it, but it still is like has a sheen, a glossy kind of, you pull apart the truffle and it just kind of, it separates there in the middle. Not runny, but that a bit of a soft gooiness almost. And then it's either covered in, a candy shell, a harder chocolate shell. Oftentimes what you get is they'll be rolled in cocoa powder. And so the cocoa powder will just kind of coat it and it'll be kind of dry, and then you'll mix that with something inside that's maybe more sweet than a cocoa powder that doesn't have sweetness to it naturally. So that's what truffles are. So for this, I really do think that this is as if you had a white chocolate shell on a truffle, and on the inside, probably a pink, also like a white chocolate base with a little bit of, you can actually get some of that, the sparkling wine. You could actually add a small amount of that to your, ganache or truffle filling mixture, so that you do have just a hint of that kind of the grape, the wine to it, that kind of the boozy angle, and certainly mixing in that raspberry liqueur, your Chambord. This really, you could turn this into a cocktail where you've got, now, it would be more of a creamy cocktail, like when you think of your, around the holidays when you'll have a white chocolate martini or something made with Irish cream, that sort of thing. And so this could very much be, sort of a white chocolate liqueur, a raspberry liqueur, maybe throw in a little bit of vodka or something, and top it with some of the sparkling. The sparkling, I think, would, for the cocktail, it might be a little strange with the creaminess, but certainly the flavors you're getting are the creaminess of the white chocolate balanced with that tartness. Raspberries are rarely sweet. They've always got a bit of a bite to them, even if they are ripe, and you get that pure, true raspberry in this, which makes me really happy, because sometimes, berries are in a scent and it's just generic berries, and what is it? This is very clearly, if it wasn't even labeled, you would know this is raspberry that you're smelling. So I really like that. It's sort of your champagne toast meets, raspberry something with that white chocolate. So very, very clearly you've got the effervescence in this, you've got the raspberry in this with a little bit of the booziness, as well as the creaminess of that white chocolate. So that's definitely a winner for me, and I'm excited to burn that one. For me, this one certainly could be holidays, but it's really like a New Year's scent for me, or into January, when you still want sweet, you want something that's celebratory, but not as obviously holidays. Not that any of these are obviously holidays, they really could be year-round, but that's when I would likely burn it. So that one's a win for me. I'm always a fan of anything with a bit of a sparkling angle to it. So next up, we've got Espresso Chocolate Truffle. We smelled espresso blends in wax over the years, and Sometimes it's good, a lot of times it doesn't come through well. Similar to chocolate is kind of a tough blend in wax. This one is, not surprisingly, is pretty strong. The notes in this one: ground espresso, milk chocolate, whipped vanilla, and creamy coconut. I would say right off the bat, the biggest thing that I think is interesting with this one is that it really is a milk chocolate and not a dark chocolate, which I appreciate, because a lot of times it's going to be, you get a dark chocolate in your wax, but this is a true milk chocolate. So again, you've got just that really nice, I mean, that looks like chocolate milk right there, doesn't it? Oh man, when I first sniffed it, I thought, okay, it's good, it's standard. Now for me, now that it's been, in the house for 2 days and I'm sniffing with a fresh nose, the espresso really comes through as authentic. And again, it is sort of the espresso bean. It's not your latte, it's not your, don't think of a coffee drink in this case. It truly just is that intense, the ground, heavily roasted coffee bean that is espresso. To me, this is sort of like, really, if you were walking into a confectionery, a candy shop, and they happen to serve, just espresso. They'll just do a simple pull of espresso to have with your pastry or your truffles or, whatever you might have. This is a blend of those things. So it's not purely coffee, but it's very clear that it's in there. So it's really, really balanced nicely with a true milk chocolate. What are the other notes they list? They say whipped vanilla and creamy coconut. The coconut, I'm not getting, and I'm actually kind of glad. I'm okay with coconut, but for me, unless you're going for a tropical blend or a bright fruity blend, I don't want there to be coconut in there unless it is the primary note. So if this was, a coconut chocolate truffle, give me coconut. If it is, again, just a tropical fruit blend or something like that, give me coconut as a background note, that's fine. In this, I wouldn't really want it to give me espresso and chocolate as the main with a little bit of coconut in it. That wouldn't really be my bag, and I'm glad to say I don't really get the coconut in it. It really just is this creamy, I'd say, it's like a 60-40, like espresso, maybe 60 chocolate, 40 espresso. I don't specifically get whipped vanilla. I think for me, where I get that is, it's almost like that's what's keeping it as a milk chocolate, is perhaps the fact that there is a strong, there is a base of a vanilla in there, but it's not specifically as if I'm getting them separately, but it's kind of subduing the chocolate so that it is a very creamy. I mean, I think in this instance, the color of this wax is a good visual representation of the creaminess of the blend, because if you're talking espresso and chocolate, that could get just very straightforward to the front of the nose. This really, because it's milk chocolate, and I suppose because of the whipped vanilla, it really brings that sort of warmth or creaminess to it. And for me, if there was a truffle for this, it would be, a chocolate shell with a milk chocolate shell, and maybe the actual inside would be a whipped vanilla with some of the espresso in there. So you've got the milk chocolate is your shell. I'm just repeating myself, but you got the milk chocolate shell, and then the vanilla espresso filling in this case is really sort of how to get this. And then we move on to the final one. Actually, I said I would do a comparison, and I will. So some folks were thinking, oh, could Espresso Chocolate Truffle be similar to Fantastic Fudge, which the notes on Fantastic Fudge from earlier this summer were dark chocolate, espresso drizzled caramel, creamy coconut, tonka bean, black vanilla, brown sugar. The one call that I will make is I really appreciated that, with this collection and many others, we were getting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 notes. In the Truffles collection, you're getting, I suppose you're getting 4 notes. For me, the more the better. I really like to understand the full layers, so I would request that in future blends to give us all the notes. Now, Fantastic Fudge, which I have burned, really like this one. It truly is one of the only accurate fudge candles I've ever smelled in all my years of smelling and reviewing candles. For me, the primary difference is they're quite different, but if you liked one, I think you'd like the other. I think in Fantastic Fudge, I get a lot of nuttiness, and it's truly like a bakery, a dense, dark, rich, decadent fudge, like a chunk of fudge that you would put in your ice cream sundae. Because to me, that the ice cream collection, it's not for, again, not if this is the intention behind it, but for me, it was not as if each one of the 4 in the ice cream collection was different types of ice cream. It was almost parts of a sundae. So you had your fudge that you could throw in there. You had your ooey gooey caramel you could put on top of that. You had your mint chocolate chip ice cream, and then your vanilla ice cream / whipped cream. So put them all together and you've got a sundae. But for me, that was a nice bakery fudge. This Espresso Chocolate Truffle, creamier, very much more espresso coming out in there, even though there was that note of espresso as well in the fudge. So again, hard to pick a favorite because that fudge is so authentic. I almost think, as far as the blend goes, I lean a little bit towards the truffle, because again, I really appreciate the espresso note in there. So then we go over to Chocolate Mint Truffle. Now this is so far the only one that I've burned. I will make the call out here first of all. I lit this for maybe an hour. It fully pulled out. There was a tiny little edge that wasn't quite there yet. I'm talking like barely even noticeable, tiny little edge. But I know if it had gone another 20 minutes, it would have, but I had to leave. This sucker threw. Now what is great about that is it's not you open the lid, you sniff it, it's not a knock you over candle. So the intensity of the fragrance itself is not overwhelming, but the spread, the sillage, the throw of it was great. I had it burning here on my kitchen island. And then literally upstairs, when I walked out of the master bedroom into the loft area, and I could smell this candle hands down within 25 minutes. I smelled it all the way upstairs in another room, which was exactly, for me at least, what I wanted in a candle. I wanted to be able to spread, to go, and really be able to smell it, even if you're not on top of it, which not all candle companies can say, right? So Chocolate Mint Truffle, again, like the others, this is that really nice plaid there with this mint green wax to match it. The notes on this one, chocolate, cocoa, cool peppermint, and pistachio. So I think a lot of folks see chocolate, and man, I haven't sniffed it right now and I'm smelling it. This is so good. The chocolate and the cocoa, I think some people may get that confused and say, well, they're both chocolate. But like I said earlier in the video, sometimes you'll get a truffle that is chocolate on the inside, which this I think leans maybe towards a bittersweet. They don't say dark, they don't say milk, so more like in the middle, kind of a bittersweet chocolate, like your standard chocolate chip might be. The cocoa is that cocoa powder, so the unsweetened, chalky cocoa powder, because for me, this truffle is very much if you had let's see, a 60%, 55% cacao chocolate. So, not exactly milk, not exactly dark, kind of a mix in the middle, right? A healthy medium is your inside, that ganache, with some sweetened mint, not overwhelming mint, not like you're eating a piece of bubble gum with your chocolate here. It's just a delicate, soft mint, but quite noticeable. And then you roll that, rather than having a hardened shell made out of a chocolate, you roll it in the cocoa powder. So then you bite into it, and the cocoa powder kind of mixes with the wetness and the sweetness of the chocolate on the inside that's soft, and adds a different mouthfeel and a really different flavor, because you get just a hint of bitterness or almost acidity from the unsweetened cocoa powder that you have on the outside. So that's, in my mind, why there's chocolate and cocoa listed in this. It's not a duplicate. They're actually two very different ingredients, right? So, but smelling this, oh boy. I didn't get this originally, but thinking of it now, it could almost lean toward, and I think because this is the cocoa powder, almost like a kind of a thin mint or grasshopper kind of cookie or not candy, but confection, because the mint is there. It is definitely a peppermint, so it's not a sweet kind of bubble gum sort of spearmint, or which is sometimes softer. It's definitely got the vibrancy of a peppermint, but it just mixes so perfectly with that. Again, there's a bit of a dryness to this one, which could lean towards almost like a dry chocolate cookie, like the outside of an Oreo or the inside of a grasshopper, or thin mint kind of thing, like a chocolate, cookie that snaps. But I think that's really what I'm getting is the mix of the mint, the sweet chocolate on the inside, and then that drier, kind of powdery cocoa that you get rolled on the outside. I wish I actually had the three perfect truffles to represent these, but in my mind, I've got them, so hopefully you can see them too. And I didn't expect to like this one as much as I did because I've had many different chocolate mint candles over the years. And I think sometimes they lean a little too much white chocolate and then it just gets lost in the mix and then it's just kind of a creamy mint. This is very clearly chocolate and mint. And again, not a dark chocolate or milk, but right in the middle there, a nice, strong, kind of bittersweet chocolate. Oh boy, there's a nice bit of vanilla in there, I think, to balance that mint so it's not so astringent. Now, pistachio is interesting. When I was burning this, Fabrizio said, man, there's almost something kind of savory to that. What could it be? And I think what he was getting was sort of I don't even want to say nuttiness from the pistachio, but a bit of that creaminess, if that makes any sense. Like pistachios aren't particularly creamy themselves, but if you made like, you know, pistachio butter or ground them up or have the flavor in something, that can add a bit of a creamy flavor to it. So really almost this was like, you know, maybe that you roll it in cocoa powder with a little bit of crushed pistachios in it and just adds that little extra, again, nothing super strong, not a pistachio fluff or pistachio pudding, but just a little something in there that I didn't get as much on cold, but again, Fabrizio called it out without even looking at the label. He said, no, there's something else kind of savory in that. I think it was the pistachio. Now I think, again, to do a comparison, what a lot of people would think is, okay, well, chocolate and mint, is this the Mintalicious chocolate chip from the summer collection, which we've got here? Notes on that one being iced peppermint, crushed white chocolate, crystallized sugar, and whipped cream. So the notes fairly different. We're talking, you know, both have peppermint, both have chocolate, but one's white and one is, you know, your traditional chocolate or cocoa. And there's no real whipped cream or anything listed in the truffle. Now comparing the two, for me, the Mintalicious chocolate chip, there's the whipped cream and the crushed white chocolate lean much more towards truly like a milky confection in the Mintalicious chocolate chip. And so truly I do get sort of like that ice cream in the Mintalicious. And the mint in this one for me, though it said iced peppermint, this one felt a little bit more like a sweet spearmint to me, like a soft, a little bit more warm spearmint. Again, very much sugared, as I think they said in here, crystallized sugar, definitely part of the mint. So this one, creamy, milky with a different type of mint. This one feels more holiday to me as well, actually, because it's more of a traditional peppermint with that traditional chocolate as well. So again, similar names, a couple similar notes, but for these ones, these are even more different than each other, or these are more different than each other than even the fudge and the Espresso Chocolate Truffle for me. This is your creamy, milky ice cream. This very much is your traditional chocolate confection. So very different, but kind of, I think, interesting if you didn't like one, or I know some people said they felt like the Mintalicious chocolate chip was almost too minty or felt more like a mint treat or, you know, mint gum or something like that. The mint in here very much blends perfectly with the chocolate to make it feel very traditional. So again, not something I typically would have said, oh, I must have these. I know some people were chomping at the bit for them, understandably so. We all have our favorites and our likes out there. I wouldn't have thought that I would like these as much as I have, truly. For me, again, this one, perfect as a chocolate mint for me through the holidays, and I do like having a chocolate mint in the holidays for, again, this more of a celebratory. Really, all three of these for me are kind of celebratory. Certainly the sparkling and the chocolate mint. The Espresso Chocolate Truffle, that might be more of a Saturday morning. Again, the coffee helps that out. Oh boy, yeah, that I'm liking that more as I smell it. I might have to light that now. I'm recording this Sunday morning, and I might have to light that espresso. So, if by any means you lean towards these scents and they're the kind that you go for and you look for, this is a must buy. If you're someone who's like, I could take it, leave it. I don't necessarily need the sweets. I don't like the confections. I don't like the whatevers. Then it may not be as much of a must have for you. If you like those, you typically pick something up at the store that might have a chocolate mint, and you really like the boozy or a legit raspberry or something that has that effervescence side to it, then in that sense, this might be worth buying for you because this is a really nicely done raspberry effervescence, again, with some of that white chocolate in there, but the raspberry and the sparkling wine for me are the top notes on that. So for me, that's, you know, almost like these two are more similar. This one's a little bit different. For me, in a good way, that makes me really enjoy the trio put together because they are so different. So really a fun collection. Definitely check it out if you are interested in this sort of thing. I will be coming back soon with a couple other reviews. Hope to do a sort of an in-depth, I've been calling it out for a while, but kind of comparing some of the different pines that Homeworx has released, your white birch, your evergreens, you know, your the blends, the trim the tree, those sorts of things that have pine in them. And I may actually also do a review on, I'll just quickly show here, I purchased the bronze pumpkin that I am loving. I think it was a really great value, right around $40. The quality of it and the scent that's in it, really love. So I might review that as well. And that's pretty much it though. Check out my other channel, The Gentleman Next Door. And if you have questions, let me know. And until next time, guys, take care.